While fishing the jetties, you never really know what you're gonna catch. Some days you get on incredible fish that you'll never forget.
Oh my gosh, heart is pounding. 30, baby! 31!
And sometimes you're left with fish that most people would consider trash. In today's episode, we will be doing the unthinkable and taking on the challenge of turning a trash fish into a fine dish. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take it back to where the challenge began. Our journey started on June 30th, bright and early at Surfside Jetty Park. We arrived and quickly unloaded our gear as the sun was rising. Once ready, we set off down the rocks, joined by Tony from Joe Haas Fishing and his dad Tim. After we made it to our spot, I wanted to take a moment to appreciate and capture the beautiful sunrise we had that morning. Once finished, I got my rod rigged and got to fishing.
Ooh, I got hit on a straight retrieve. Ooh. I wonder if I put a spoon on. I know it sounds crazy, but I really do want to do a ribbon fish catch and cook.
Ribbon fish. Although they aren't the most exciting fish, I can still remember my first time catching one as a little kid and the feeling of awe I had as I admired its shiny appearance and sleek body. Unlike most fish I had ever seen before, the ribbon stood out. As I got older, I began to view the ribbon fish negatively and saw it as little more than a trash fish. But as I've grown as a fisherman and a YouTuber, I found myself to be more open-minded and willing to try things that I may have never done before. So, when my pops told me he thought ribbon fish were in the area, I instantly knew what my plan was.
I'm thinking
a long one.
I might do a ribbon fish catch and cook, bro. I might bust down. There's only one way to cook them. I'm probably gonna keep 2 or 3 ribbon fish if I catch them. I'm just gonna fry them whole and clean. I'm gonna gut them out here, ikejime them.
After fishing for a couple minutes, I finally got my first hookup. Sadly, it was on a rock.
Guys, remember how I said you gotta play with danger? Yeah. I usually don't put this stuff in the video, but I remember one time we were out here, the Adams family, if y'all are watching. I actually remember y'all's name now. He was asking us at the parking lot, how do you avoid getting stuck? And it was just funny to me because the honest answer is you don't. You just kind of do it enough times and eventually get a feel for it. And even with the amount of times I come out here and fish, I still really don't have a great feel for it, obviously. It's already my second time being stuck today. I'm thinking maybe I might cut this off, but honestly the bite is pretty slow right now. And unless I see the guys around me start bringing in fish, I'll probably just spend my time trying to save this spoon, save a couple bucks.
As the day continued, it started to seem like rocks were the only thing that I'd be hooking into. That being said, it was a decent day overall, with several nice catches being brought up onto the jetty. Tony caught a few keeper trout, his dad Tim landed a very nice pompano, and one of the gentlemen down the rocks brought in a massive 23-inch trout. Eventually, my luck did turn around when I hooked into this.
Trout for sure, the way he's head shaking. Little guy, probably. Oh wow, that's a bull croaker, dude. Look at that dang thing. Sony, look at me, bruh. Hey, PB croaker, dude.
Although it wasn't the ribbon fish I was looking for, I was excited to see such a large croaker on the end of my line. After dispatching that little guy, I felt secure that I would have something to cook up for the video. And as the sun was making its way up, I had finally got my ribbon fish. Sadly, my camera had died without me realizing, but I was able to catch some clips of me dispatching and cleaning the little fellow. With my trash fish in the bag, I left the jetty excited to see what I could create with them. Now, back in the kitchen is where things got weird. I had originally planned on frying the ribbon fish whole, mainly because everyone was saying that that was the best way to cook them. However, I decided to try and fillet my ribbon fish. That would be my first mistake. It was a tough job, but I managed to get a pair of decent but tiny fillets, leaving me with a bunch of mincemeat that I let Percy enjoy. The croaker were a lot easier to fillet and helped to give us a little more meat for our final dish. Our side dish would be potatoes au gratin. I wanted to have a very tasty side dish as I planned on using minimal seasoning for the fish. I really wanted to let the flavor of each of them shine through so that I could compare it to other fish that I've had in the past. As the cooking ensued, everything went to plan, but when I finally sat down to eat, I was extremely disappointed. Gosh, yeah, the hair doesn't look great. Doesn't matter, that's not what we're here for. I really want to just get a bite of the potato first, but I know that's not what we're here for either, so I genuinely think this is not going to be bad. Is that bone? Let's just try and ignore it. It's almost like a little fish Slim Jim. Texture is nice, it's not like off. I did ikejime them. Very salty, over seasoned. I'm not happy about that. That's my fault. Poor fish. But I'm gonna eat all my ribbon fish. It's not bad. I get what we ought to do is cook it the way everyone says you're supposed to. Fry the whole thing, but man, chewing through bones, I don't know. I don't know. That doesn't sound fun to me. It's not my style. There are no bones in there. That must be the skin. They got real crunchy. Extremely salty, that's on me. But, you know what else is on me? That right there, bro. Potatoes au gratin. Did it not cook long enough? That didn't sound right, bro. Oh no, bro. Don't tell me, bro. Bro, that's awful. I'm eating a raw potato right now. Well, that's extremely disappointing. All right, those are going back in the oven. That's what I was the most excited for, bro. I can't believe this. I snuck the potatoes back into the oven so they can continue cooking. The pre-made crescent rolls are delicious. Well, this is awkward. I guess you got what you came for. I ate the ribbon fish. It was not good, man. I can't believe I've done this. Can't believe I messed up my potatoes. I know they're gonna be good. I got them back in the oven, so thankfully I'm the only one eating right now. I'm the only one who had to eat this freaking slop. Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, hopefully you guys got what you came for. We ate the ribbon fish. It was a bit salty. I just over seasoned it. But I've got to say, if I didn't over season it, it didn't taste bad. It wasn't like it was like super fishy. Didn't have a weird texture. It was just not a lot of fish. It's a lot of work for a little fish. Unless you're willing to deep fry the whole thing and crunch through the bones, which is just like, eesh. I don't know, man. Even though I ate my ribbon fish, I was extremely unhappy with the finished product. With the teeny fillets, even the smallest amount of seasoning would be enough to oversalt them, and the taste of the fish itself was not able to shine through. Thankfully, after returning my potatoes to the oven, I was able to salvage them, but sadly, it was too late for my video. After doing some thinking, I decided that there was no way I could end this adventure on that note. Eager to redeem myself in the kitchen, I planned on returning to the jetty with my dad to do some night fishing in hopes of securing one keeper so that I could come back to the kitchen. After waiting out a few days of rain, we finally had a window on the 6th of July. But sadly, after loading up all of our gear for night fishing, my truck had refused to start. At this point, I was feeling defeated, but there was still a little bit of hope. We grabbed our jumper cables and thankfully got my truck started with the help of my dad's S10. We headed to AutoZone, where we discovered that the battery was in fact dead. After replacing it with a new battery, we would finally be able to make our way to Surfside at around 8 p.m. This would put a damper on our plans. You see, every bait shop near the jetty closes at 9, and with our late departure, there was no way we would make it in time to secure live shrimp. Although I'm fairly confident in my ability to use artificials, it's not uncommon for trout to only be biting live bait some nights. As we drove to Freeport, I was hoping and praying that tonight wouldn't be one of those nights. We made it to Jetty Park at around 9:30. Without a moment to spare, we loaded up our wagon and made it to our favorite spot on the rocks, where we set up our lights and got to fishing. After casting the Hoagie swimming jack for close to half an hour with no luck, I got a short bite, leading me to believe that we were dealing with some smaller fish. That let me know that it was time to switch up my lure. As I looked through my tackle box, there was only one lure that stood out to me, a plum truce burner shad by Down South Lures. Coming in at 3.5 inches, this would be the perfect lure to test and see if the fish we were dealing with were dialed in on a smaller size profile. Sadly, my camera wasn't rolling for what happens next, but thankfully, my dad captured the moment from his point of view.
Oh my gosh, son. No, you're gonna have to just like whip them up here. What is it? You're gonna have to just sling them up. That's a keeper. Yeah, good job.
I don't think I'm even recording.
Nope. Nope, you're not.
There while I was drinking my energy drink was just one keeper is all I need to redeem myself in the kitchen. And we just got him. Very excited, very, very excited. Let's get this guy dispatched. He's definitely a keeper, I'm not measuring that. Ah, man, I really jacked up my knee somehow. Rest in peace, buddy. So really all we needed to do was just downsize a little bit. That's I started with the 4-inch and I just went to the smallest one I had. That's what worked. Alrighty, got that guy cleaned up. And right here is our one trout. So I know the title of the video, Bizarre Foods Catch and Cook Surfside Jetty Edition. Look, I've already completed my end of the bargain. I ate that ribbon fish. I didn't enjoy him. But I'm definitely going to enjoy this guy, and we're going to make something that we can be proud of. Freaking bugs everywhere out here. Nice trout. Let's stop showing them off and get them on ice to make sure we have a good product to work with when we get home. Man, oh man, guys. Against all the odds. Truck freaking breaking down on it. I mean, battery died. It wasn't the end of the world, but not being able to get bait, coming out here, having a tough first hour, maybe hour and a half of fishing. Haven't seen anybody land anything. Holy crap though. Thank you, Down South Lures. Not a sponsored video. I don't think those guys would sponsor me, but I usually kind of shun Down South because I just love hoagies so much. But today the hoagies was outdone by the DSL. Very, very happy, very thankful to get that guy.
A very nice keeper trout. At the time, I honestly couldn't believe it. You see, the conditions we were fishing that night were far from ideal. With dirty water, high winds, and little to no water movement all working together, it was a tough night of fishing to say the least. In fact, the only reason we were even out there is because it was our only opportunity to fish without getting ran off the water by thunderstorms. Despite the odds, I found myself blessed yet again by this beautiful trout. Unfortunately, after that catch, my bad luck would continue, and as I knelt down to dispatch my trout, I did something that really tweaked my knee. I tried to fish on and just cast from my chair, but after losing my burner shad and a few other lures to the rocks, I decided that I was done fishing for the night. With my knee throbbing and rain falling down, I sat there feeling very uncomfortable, but also thankful that I had got the job done and would be able to run it back in the kitchen. My dad continued fishing and absolutely lit up the trout, catching his limit before we left at around 2 a.m. And after making our way home and resting up, it was time to bust it down in the kitchen. For my trout, I had the perfect idea. This is actually a dish that I've made here on the channel in the past, but I've never actually shared the recipe. So in today's video, we're gonna fix that. Start by filleting your fish. Admittedly, I'm still learning how to do that, and it seems no matter how careful I am, there's always some scraps left behind. Thankfully, none of it goes to waste, as my cat Percy gladly eats all the scraps. After getting the fillets ready, it's on to the potatoes. Peel 3 pounds of potatoes. I usually go with Yukon Gold, but my HEB didn't have any in stock, so we went with russets instead. After that, roughly chop them into 2-inch cubes and throw them into a pot of salted water. Keep an eye on your pot, and when the water starts to boil, set a timer for 15 minutes, at which point your potatoes will be ready to mash. While the potatoes are boiling, preheat the oven to 400 degrees and let's start prepping our asparagus. To prep mine, I chop the lower third of each stem and give them a good rinse, followed by a few passes with our meat tenderizer. I know it seems weird, but trust me, it really helps to let the seasoning penetrate deep into the asparagus. After that, line a baking sheet with tinfoil. Then, line up your asparagus, hit them with a little bit of olive oil and seasonings of your choice. Once ready, stick them in your 400-degree oven for 16 to 18 minutes. And now, for the piece de resistance, we're going to make our sauce. For this part, you don't necessarily need a blender, but if you want to follow along with me, you do. If you're interested in how to make this sauce without a blender, I'll link some videos in the description along with the full recipe that I'm making today. Now, in a blender, combine 3 egg yolks with 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Cut on your blender and let it rip for 30 to 45 seconds or until you notice the yolks change into a pale yellow color. Next, you want to slowly drizzle in half a cup of melted butter. It's important to go slow here or you can really ruin the emulsification of your sauce by overwhelming your poor little egg yolks. Once you've incorporated all of your butter, the sauce is complete. Now it's time to get your creamy sauce ready for the potatoes. In a small pot over medium-low heat, slowly bring together 3/4 a cup of butter, a half a cup of sour cream, and a half a cup of whole milk. Let that simmer together until everything has melted and become homogeneous. Once you see steam coming off your mixture, it's ready to go. If you timed everything perfectly, then your asparagus should be out of the oven and your potatoes should be ready to mash. At this point, you can mash up the potatoes, but if you have a potato ricer, you can use that for a far superior potato texture. Nothing against the masher crowd, but if you've ever had riced potatoes, you know what I'm saying. After ricing or mashing your potatoes, slowly incorporate your warm, creamy mixture, being careful not to overwork the potatoes. Once you're done, season with salt and pepper to taste. And finally, it's time for the star of our show. Get a cast iron skillet and put the heat on high. It's very important that this pan is ripping hot in order to get a nice sear on our fillets. Add equal parts olive oil and butter and let them heat up with the pan. While that's happening, take your fillets and hit them with a little salt and pepper. You don't need to go crazy with the seasonings here, and salt and pepper will do just fine. I found that it really helps to let the flavor of the fish take center stage. Now, once your butter and oil are up to heat, pop your fillets in the pan and watch them carefully. When you see the top side of your fillet starting to get an opaque color, flip it and let it cook for around 30 to 40 more seconds. The last thing you need to do before plating is finely chop some chives for a garnish. I'd say this is optional, but the chives really add to the flavor profile of this meal, so I wouldn't skip it. To plate, lay down a bed of mashed potatoes where you can set your trout to rest in peace. Cover them up with the Hollandaise sauce and garnish with your chives. Now, let's taste. Alright, we just really got done busting it down in the kitchen. Shout out to the homie Gerard for coming over, trying the food and helping out a little bit with the potatoes. What do you think, man? I mean, you already cleaned half the plate. I already know what you think.
You know, I'm enjoying it.
You're enjoying it? It's really good stuff, guys. I have not even touched mine. As a matter of fact, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get the iPhone out. We're gonna get some B-roll with this. Give me a second. Alright, y'all. Cheers. Or I guess bottoms up.
Last time.
The Hollandaise wasn't as consistent. So in the last video, y'all didn't really see the cook. I did taste the meal, and it was really good, and it is really good again. Wow. But before we got our Vitamix blender over there, you guys saw me cooking the Hollandaise with it. I had to do a double boiler setup with like a hand blender, and it is just not the same. If you get yourself a, I'm not gonna say a Vitamix, I mean it is really top-notch quality blender, but I honestly think even like a Ninja Bullet or something would be a lot easier to make Hollandaise. It's just you can't drizzle the butter in.
A Ninja Bullet, that's two different brands.
I thought
Ninja,
that was
no, Bullet is
I thought
Bullet.
Bullet made the Ninja. I thought that was like a line. All right, well, you would have to like drill a hole in the bottom of it or
That's
something.
really good.
Yeah, I love it. All right, you guys. Well, I'm not gonna bore you. This has been a long journey, a long adventure. They had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. The first cook with the ribbon fish and the croaker absolutely came out terribly.
That was bad.
Oh, dude, it was so bad, dude. I oversalted it. But anyways, you guys, I could not go out on that note. We had to come back in this kitchen, get our redemption, and we got back good. I would like to do it with ribbon fish just to see, because his face, bro. I would, because I didn't do the meat justice. Like the texture of the meat, the quality of the meat wasn't bad at all. It was just I oversalted it way too much. But again, I'm rambling on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Hope you guys have a great rest of y'all's day. Peace.